Hello, we're going to go over a couple of questions from the January 2019 iGCSE Higher Paper 1. These are questions 10 and 17 that are a couple of trigonometry questions. If you want to give them a go first, then when we look at the question, I'll give you a chance to pause the video, you have a go at doing the question, and then come back and press play to see where the marks are. The first question is question 10. We're given a triangle ABD and told that point C lies on line BD. We're given the measurements for AD, BC and the angle ADB and the angle CAD. We're asked to calculate the size of angle BAC. So I'm going to mark that as X. So if you want to give answering the question a go, press pause and then come back once you've given it a go. Okay, so to answer this question, the first thing we're going to do is look at the triangle ACD. Which we know that this length is 13 centimetres and we know we've got an angle of 20 degrees and it's a right angle. So the first thing we're going to try and do is work out this length here, and we're going to call that Y. So we're going to need to use trigonometry here. We've got one length and an angle, and we've got an unknown length that we're trying to find. So first of all, if we write our formula triangles, so Tower, and we can work out which formula triangle we want to use by looking at what sides we have. So first of all, we've got the side that's opposite the angle, and we've also got the side that's adjacent to the angle. So we're looking for the formula triangle that contains the opposite and the adjacent. So we're looking at Tower. We're trying to find the opposite, which we've called Y. So on the formula triangle, if we cover up the opposite, we can see that we need to calculate tan of the angle times the adjacent. So we're going to do tan of the angle 20 times the adjacent, which is 13. So that will tell us that our Y is equal to 4.7316 centimetres. Now that we've got the length of Y, and we know that this length here, CD, is 4.7316, we can look at the bigger triangle ABD. Which is a right angle triangle as well. So again, we know that this bottom length is 13 centimetres, and we now know that BD is 8 at the 4.7316 that we've calculated. So that's going to be 12.7316 centimetres. And this time we're going to be looking for the full angle that contains the 20 and the X. So again, I've got the side that is opposite the angle, and I've also got the side that's adjacent to the angle. So again, I'm still going to look at the formula triangle for tan. So, but this time we're missing the angle, so I'm covering up the tan of the angle. And I can see that that is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And the opposite is 12.7316 over the adjacent, which is 13. to find the angle, I need to do the inverse of tan of the opposite over the adjacent. And this will give us an angle of 44.4 degrees. But this angle is looking at both the x and the 20. So to find the angle x, we need to remove the 20. Which means that our answer is 24.4 degrees. If you got the answer of 24.4, you'll get all 5 marks. Otherwise, you might have gained some marks as you've gone if you've done some of the working out. The first mark is for using the correct formula triangle and putting the correct figures in. And the second mark is for finding the correct value for the length CD, 4.7316. The next mark is for using the correct formula for the bigger triangle ABD. And then fourth mark for finding the angle BAD. And finally, your fifth mark is for your correct answer to 1 decimal place. The next question is question 17. We're given the triangle ABC with 2 lengths and 1 angle and an unknown angle, which is what we're trying to find. To give this one a go, don't forget you've got your formula sheet because this may be useful for this question. So if you pause the video now and give this question a go, and then you can come back and see how you've done. Okay, so what we need to do is we're trying to find the value of x and we've got a triangle. So we're looking at this part of the formula sheet. The sine rule isn't going to be much use because even though we've got an unknown angle and its opposite length, we haven't got a length with its opposite angle. There's something missing from both of them. So the cosine rule, which requires all of the lengths and 1 angle, does mean that we've only got 1 unknown. We've just got this length unknown if we use this angle. So that's where we're going to start because that will give us this length. And then we can use the sine rule because we'll have the length with the opposite angle and we've got the angle we're trying to find with its opposite length. So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to relabel the triangle so that it matches up with what I would use from the formula, because the formula requires the angle with its opposite length marked as A. So I would like this angle to be A and this length to be little a, which means I'm just going to change this one to be B and that'll be little b, and we'll keep that as C. Because then I can just plug my numbers straight in to the cosine rule. So the cosine rule, if I write that down, tells us that length A squared is going to be equal to B squared plus C squared, take away 2BC cosine of the angle A. So we're trying to work out what A is, so that stays as A squared. We know B is 5.3. We know C is 4.1. And so we can fill those in. So we've got B is 5.3, C is 4.1, and we know that the angle A is 110. If we pop that into the calculator, we find out that a squared is 59.764, which means that when we square root at it, we find that a is 7.73073. So now we've got our length A. So A is 7.73073. That means we can now use the sine rule. The rule tells us that sine of the angle B over B is equal to sine of the angle A over the length A. Our angle B is our unknown x, and our length B is 5.3. And sine A, we've got sine 110 over length A, which is 7.73073. We can then rearrange that by timesing both sides by 5.3. And that will give us 0.6442. Now your answer might differ slightly from mine if you haven't stored the exact value in for your length A. And then to find x, we need to do the inverse of sine of the 0.6442, and that will give us 40.1 degrees, which is to 3 significant figures. So if you've got 40.1, you've got your full 5 marks. If not, you might get some marks for some of you working out. So the first mark is the correct use of the cosine rule. And then your second mark is for finding your value of A. And then your third mark is for the correct use of the sine rule. And the fourth mark is for finding out what sine of the angle is. And your final mark is for finding your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, I hope you found that helpful.